Hello, Josh here, back with another stream match breakdown, and today we have a set between two of the most iconic names in competitive Pokemon, Zheng versus Sejun Park at round 2 of the 2024 World Championships. Aaron is known for his regional titles, for almost winning Worlds with a Rotom that missed Will-O-Wisp a few too many times, for his Cybertron VGC YouTube channel, and for his career as the caster or announcer at competitive Pokemon events. Though this year he decided to come to Worlds as a competitor. And Sejun is a former world champion. He won Worlds in 2014 with his Pachirisu, which was an excellent meta call to protect his Mega Gyarados from super effective attacks. He has also done fairly well at Worlds in the trading card game since then, making him one of the most well-rounded Pokemon players of all time. And if you think that winning Worlds with a Pachirisu is pretty cool, then I ask you to check out our channel's YouTube video releasing in about a week, where we will go over Pokemon that we think have the potential to be the next Pachirisu, a Pokemon with no results that could come in and win a major event. So, without further ado, let's get to the teams. Aaron is running Bulky Offense Zamazenta team, featuring, of course, a Zamazenta with Terra Dragon and Body Press, Wide Guard, Protect, Heavy Slam as its coverage move, as was customary at the time. Though more recently, Zamazentas have tended to favor Behemoth Bash to adapt to certain meta developments. He's coupled that with Zamazenta's best friend Qianpao, holding a Focus Sash and the Ghost Terra type with the moves Icicle Crash, Throat Chop, Sucker Punch, and Protect. And these two form such a powerful duo because they're so hard to remove thanks to the Focus Sash and Zamazenta's astounding bulk. Zamazenta blows through almost everything with Body Press, and the things it can't hit, mostly Ghost types, Qianpao covers for very well with its Dark coverage. Qianpao boosts Zamazenta's damage with Sword of Rune to some truly astounding heights, and they are both extremely fast and can double up for knockouts often before the opponent can even move. And knockouts before the opponent can even move is definitely a theme of this type of priority heavy bulky offense type team. Playing into that theme, we have Rillaboom, the standard grass type on Zamazenta compositions at the time, with Terra Fire and an Assault Vest, and then the move pool of Fake Out, U-Turn, Grassy Glide, and Wood Hammer. And Rillaboom's Grassy Surge to control the terrain is incredibly valuable into Miraidon teams, since Miraidon relies somewhat on its electric terrain for its massive damage. And Fake Out plus Priority plus the massive damage of Wood Hammer all synergize just so well with Qianpao, because with Grassy Glide, it's really strong priority move. Rillaboom can pretend to be just as fast as Qianpao or Zamazenta, and can fit into that theme of picking up KOs before the opponent's team can even move. Entei comes next. It is holding a Choice Band. It is Terra Normal. Obviously, this synergizes with Qianpao the way that Dragonite and Qianpao synergize, especially because Entei, like Dragonite, has the Inner Focus ability. However, the Mono Fire typing on Entei is a little more valuable than what Dragonite's typing provides, both on offense and defense on a Zamazenta team like this, and it has a move pool of Sacred Fire, Extreme Speed, Stone Edge, and Flare Blitz. And those choice-banded Terra Normal Extreme Speeds with Qianpao Sword of Rune up do lots of damage. Stone Edge is excellent for hitting fire types, and Calyrex Ice Rider if it has the potential to Terra Fire. Rounding it out, Aaron has two fairy types. First is a Terra Grass Photosynthesis Fluttermane that is almost certainly Terra Speed. Terra Grass gives it some useful resistances, like to Urshifu, while also allowing it to ignore Amoonguss if it so chooses. It is running Icy Wind for some spread speed control, Shadow Ball to hit targets like Amoonguss and Calyrex Shadow, Moonblast as its primary damaging option, and Protect. And then there is a Grimmsnarl, a very off-meta pick on Zamazenta teams. There was some Grimmsnarl in this format, and there was definitely some Zamazenta in this format, but I don't think outside of Aaron's team here, I ever saw them together. This Grimmsnarl has the Light Clay held item to extend the duration of its Reflect and Light Screen moves. It has Prankster Taunt to shut down opponent status move-based strategies before they can get their attacks off. And it has Foul Play with its Dark-type Stab for massive damage, especially into Calyrex Shadow and Calyrex Ice Rider. And the Grimmsnarl is Terra Ghost. So yeah, overall, between the screens and the natural typings and bulk and held items of these Pokemon, we have so much defense and HP and damage reduction that the opponent has to break through, while enduring the onslaught of high damage priority moves boosted by Chien-Pao's Sword of Rune, and often moving first, which is just really oppressive for a lot of teams to deal with. Next, let's take a look at Sejun's team, and he has brought back his iconic Pachirisu. And it actually kind of makes sense in this metagame. Redirection is fundamentally good with its Follow Me move. Its Terra Fairy and Volt Absorb ability combined so that it is completely immune to the Electric and Dragon type attacks of opposing Miraidons when it terastallizes. It rounds out its move pool with Super Fang, Protect, and Helping Hand to serve as a strong supportive option that can also do damage when necessary. And it can also do damage via its Rocky Helmet held item that damages Pokemon that make contact with it. His restricted is Miraidon, running the now very standard Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam set, holding choice specs with the attacking moves Electro Drift, Draco Meteor, and Volt Switch to do insane amounts of damage while also pivoting around and keeping your Miraidon safe. The fire type on this team is a Chi-Yu. Most Miraidon teams like to have a fire type, and this one is no exception. It is holding the Choice Scarf to do lots of damage and do it while moving first, and has Terra Ghost as a defensive option as well. Its move pool is Heat Wave and Overheat for overwhelming fire damage, Dark Pulse for dark damage, and then Psychic to hit some of those pesky Pokemon like fighting types that otherwise might be tough to deal with. Urshifu Rapid Strike is holding a Focus Sash with the standard moveset of Surging Strikes, Close Combat, Aqua Jet, and Detect, as well as Terra Stellar to just take that damage to the next level. Finally, the slow duo of Farigiraf and Iron Hands. The Farigiraf is fairly standard with Psychic Noise, Foul Play, Helping Hand, and Trick Room. Its priority blocking Armor Tail could very well prove valuable in this matchup against the numerous priority moves on Aaron's team, and it is holding the Electric Seed held item to boost its defense in Miraidon's electric terrain, and it is Terra Ground to probably help deal with opposing Miraidons. And then there's Iron Hands, which is almost always Assault Vest, especially on Miraidon teams where you just want as many stats as possible on your Iron Hands. But this is a clear Amulet Iron Hands running Fake Out, Swords Dance, Detect, and a Low Kick. So its only damaging move, outside of Fake Out, which you can only use on your first turn, is Low Kick. But after a Swords Dance and in electric terrain, this Iron Hands is just going to be ripping through everything. And Terra Grass is a useful defensive type for the likes of Urshifu, Amoonguss, etc. Alright, and without further ado, let's start Game 1. Sejun leads with Chi-Yu and Miraidon in front of Aaron Zheng's Zamazenta and Rillaboom. And we'll be able to tell speed order by the way these Pokemon's abilities activate, assuming no speed ties. We have Chi-Yu's Beads of Rune first, then Electric Terrain from Miraidon's Hadron Engine, then Zamazenta's Dauntless Shield, and then Rillaboom's Grassy Terrain, overwriting Sejun's Electric Terrain. All right, so Chi-Yu is in a really good spot here because it can pump out an overheat or strong fire damage into either slot on Aaron's side of the field. It could go for a heat wave, but that's a little risky because if it choice locks into that, then Aaron can just start spamming wide guard and make the Chi-Yu a passive piece, though that would make Zamazenta a passive piece as well. Aaron can Terra his Rillaboom in front of the Chi-Yu, but then it no longer resists Miraidon, though that might be a worthwhile trade to make. And Aaron has valuable fake-out pressure onto Sejun's side of the field. However, a fake-out into Chi-Yu could go very wrong very quickly if Chi-Yu decides to Terra Ghost, and a fake-out into either side of the field goes very wrong very quickly if Sejun decides to swap in Farigiraf and its priority blocking Armor Tail ability. So it looks like from here, Aaron is going to have to take damage on something unless he gets a hard read very right. There's no two ways about that unless, Chi-Yu misses an attack as it sometimes does. But he has terrain control. He has the option to Terrastallize Zamazenta, which only goes wrong if Sejun calls that out and uses a Dragon or Fairy move into Zamazenta on turn 1. And Aaron has the option to pivot into Entei to take fire attacks, though Entei would not love taking an attack from Miraidon. It looks like Aaron has Entei and Qianpao in the back and has locked in the Protect on Zama. So yeah, Aaron swaps out on turn 1 the Rillaboom into Entei, presumably to take some fire attacks or a fire attack and dish out damage in return. And we see a Terrastalization on Sejun's Chi-Yu, Terrastalizing to the Ghost type, which will make it immune to Body Press, to Fake Out, and now to this Entei's Extreme Speed. Aaron's locked in Protect, so we see its Zamazenta Protect, keeping it safe. As Chi-Yu goes for the Overheat into the Rillaboom slot, which does over half to Entei. Wow. Entei does not have a lot of HP left, and Sejun goes for the Volt Switch into Zamazenta, which does not go off because Zamazenta protected, meaning Miraidon is now locked into Volt Switch and stuck on the field. Okay, so that was a bit of a read for Sejun. He covered for the Fake Out with the Terra Ghost, he covered for Body Press with Terra Ghost, and he also decided to Volt Switch into the Zamazenta that could protect instead of the Rillaboom that absolutely could not protect. Probably the safe play there would be doubling the Rillaboom slot because something was going to take a lot of damage and the Volt Switch would go off for sure unless Aaron decided to leave in the Rillaboom and let it get knocked out in one hit by an overheat. But at competition of this level, just because a play is safe does not mean it's always right. Well, in general, just because a play is safe does not always mean it is right. And Sejun seemed to call that Aaron would go for either some cheeky damage with Zamazenta or swap it out and wanted to punish that. However, because Aaron went for the safe Protect, Sejun's Miraidon is now stuck on the field. And that's a really big deal. This position is now much worse for Sejun than his position was at the start of turn 1, because Aaron Zheng's terrain setter, Rillaboom, is now in the back with grassy terrain up. That means that Sejun needs to get Miraidon out of there and back in there in order to get terrain control, which he did before. But when he does that, Aaron can just swap in Rillaboom and immediately take the terrain control back. So in terms of the terrain war, Aaron is just absolutely miles ahead right now. And Aaron also has a ton of information. Sejun is going to be very predictable this turn because Sejun can no longer Terrastallize because he already Terrastalized the Chi-Yu. he has to click Overheat or Swap Out on the Chi-Yu, and he has to click Volt Switch or manually swap out on Miraidon. That makes Terra Dragon a very, very safe play on Zamazenta because it resists both of the moves that Sejun's Pokemon have to use thanks to their choice items. Entei, it took over half of its health from the Overheat, but it did not take over 2/3, so it will survive another Overheat, meaning Chi-Yu cannot threaten a knockout unless it lands a crit, as long as Zamazenta terrestrializes. And Entei and Zamazenta can both go for massive amounts of damage that Sejun cannot really swap into safely between a Body Press and probably either a Fire type attack or an Extreme Speed from Entei. So Aaron is definitely in the driver's seat here. Let's see how he decides to press this advantage that he gained on turn 1. Start of turn 2, we see the terrestrialization come out on Aaron's side. And yes, it is the Zamazenta to Terra Dragon to resist all attacks from Sejun's side of the field. Entei goes for an Extreme Speed with the Choice Band into the Miraidon, doing about 40%. Sejun's Chi-Yu uses Overheat into the Zamazenta, doing a negligible amount of damage. And Miraidon goes for the Volt Switch into Entei, which does finish it off. Even without the electric terrain, it is still a Miraidon with choice specs. It's still going to hit pretty hard. Now the big question is, which Pokemon will they each send out? And that's a question that Aaron is going to have an easier time answering because Sejun has to swap in first, giving Aaron the chance to respond. Though for Aaron, it's probably going to be the Chien-Pao in the back. So actually it's easier for Aaron because swapping in Rillaboom right now would forfeit terrain control, which he does not want to do. So Sejun swaps in for Farigiraf, which takes a Body Press from the Zamazenta, dealing just over half of its max HP. We see a round of Grassy Terrain healing on the Zamazenta and on the Farigiraf. And now Aaron has to choose a Pokemon to swap in to replace the Entei, and it is almost certainly going to be the Chien-Pao. Yes, it is indeed Chien-Pao. So here, Chi-Yu can actually stay in and overheat the Chien-Pao slot, because even though it's at -4 special attack, it's still a super effective hit into Chien-Pao, and there's no risk of a Sucker Punch thanks to Farigiraf's Armor Tail. However, Chien-Pao can take that with its Focus Sash and strike back, and either Zamazenta or Chien-Pao can finish off the Farigiraf. A Body Press into the Farigiraf is just so safe. Seems just so safe right now. So I think a Body Press into the Farigiraf and a Throat Chop into the Chi-Yu covers for literally everything. So let's see if Aaron agrees. Turn 3, Sejun withdraws the Chi-Yu and swaps into the famous Pachirisu. Chien-Pao's Throat Chop into the Chi-Yu slot, lands on Pachirisu, getting a critical hit, doing about 75% of its HP. The Rocky Helmet breaks the Focus Sash on Chien-Pao, so now it'll drop to a single strong hit. And Zamazenta Body Presses the Farigiraf, knocking it out. Because the Throat Chop onto the Pachirisu did a little more than 75%, it's likely that Pachirisu will get two-shotted by Throat Chops if there is no crit. We see a round of Grassy Terrain recovery, and then Sejun swaps in Miraidon to replace Farigiraf, taking control of the electric terrain. So, what now? Miraidon is probably not the fastest attacker on the stage. That is almost certainly the Chien-Pao. So, it needs to be wary of an icicle crash, but redirection from Pachirisu can keep it pretty safe. However, Aaron does have the option to swap in Rillaboom for terrain control and protect either slot. And yeah, he swaps out the Zamazenta in what is a very safe play and protects the Chien-Pao, which is a bit of a soft read because Zamazenta players in general do not like to swap out their Zamazenta because that will cause the Zamazenta to lose its defense boost, meaning Sejun is probably operating on the information that... no, that's not true at all. In this situation, Aaron always wants Chien-Pao to stay on the field, so it was just optimal to swap out the Zamazenta, and Sejun goes for a Follow Me and a Draco Meteor into the Zamazenta slot, which deals just over half to Rillaboom in the grassy terrain that Rillaboom just set up. So yeah, that terrain control that Aaron obtained on turn 1 is now showing its full force, as once again Miraidon is on the field stuck in grassy terrain. And now Aaron's kind of free to just go for Fake Out plus damage because Farigiraf has already been knocked out and Miraidon cannot protect. Rillaboom fakes out the Miraidon. Pachirisu goes for a Follow Me. And the Chien-Pao on Aaron's side goes for a Throat Chop into the Pachirisu, knocking it out. That was... Was there a... Let me bring up the team sheet. Yeah, there is Protect on the Pachirisu. So that was either a read or was that targeted into... Was that Throat Chop targeted into the Miraidon? This match is from Aaron's perspective, so we can check. Yeah, so that Throat Chop was targeted into the Miraidon, so Aaron figured, well, if the Pachirisu decides to protect here, for some reason, then the Throat Chop will at least go into the Miraidon slot, which cannot protect. But a Protect was pretty unlikely there, and the Throat Chop into Pachirisu is probably what Aaron was expecting all along, leaving Sejun with only a Miraidon in grassy terrain at -2 special attack, next to a Choice Scarf Chi-Yu that must attack with a Sucker Punch Chien-Pao on the field. This is a very, very strong position for Aaron, and now the only question is, can he find a 100% win line from such a dominant position? I'm inclined to think that he is probably going to go for a Sucker Punch on the Chi-Yu, and yes, at the start of turn 4, he goes for a Sucker Punch onto Chi-Yu. It cannot protect, there is no Farigiraf, it is Terra Ghost, it is immediately knocked out from full HP. Rillaboom goes for a Grassy Glide, which does just chip damage to Miraidon. Miraidon's now at about a third of its max HP. Miraidon goes for the Draco Meteor into the Chien-Pao, who dodges the Draco, but that helps by making it so Aaron doesn't have to dodge crits quite as much, but even if that had hit and Chien-Pao had gone down, the combination of Wood Hammer and Grassy Terrain plus an attack from Zamazenta would make it so that the Miraidon was going to go down anyway. So yeah, a very, very dominant game 1 by Aaron. The turn 1 was definitely the most important turn of this set. He just gained such a massive advantage in terms of the amount of resources that Sejun expended on a read that he got wrong. And then Aaron just took that advantage and never let it slip away. He just took the pressure. He took the resource that he had, and he made sure to really make sure that Sejun could not crawl himself out of the hole of losing the terrain war, of expending Terra, out of locking in to 2 moves on choice locked Pokemon that Aaron had the tools to respond to. And yeah, just an absolute masterclass in how to play while ahead. Let's see how each player mixes it up for game 2. All right, start of game 2. Sejun leads Farigiraf and Miraidon into Aaron's Chien-Pao and Zamazenta. And yeah, the standard leads from Zamazenta teams tend to be some combination out of Chien-Pao, Rillaboom, and Zamazenta, 2 of the 3. While Sejun leads Miraidon and Farigiraf. The electric terrain activates the electric seed on Farigiraf, and we see Zamazenta get its defense boost. So there's a defense boosted mon on both sides of the field. Aaron not leading Rillaboom here means that he thinks that Sejun's not going to lead Miraidon this time, which I think is a pretty fair assumption to make for 2 reasons. First of all, Aaron's winning the terrain war so early was just so impactful in game 1. And being able to immediately take the electric terrain on lead with the Rillaboom lead into the Miraidon lead was a big part of that. So he figures, hey, Sejun probably doesn't want a repeat of that. So there's a good chance he won't lead Miraidon. And second of all, because if Aaron gets this wrong and Sejun does decide to lead Miraidon as he did, he's still in a pretty good position. He still has a Chien-Pao that probably outspeeds the Miraidon and can do just a lot of damage to it with Icicle Crash and knock it out in a single hit if it does not Terrastalize. So, let's see what each player goes to here. I'm expecting either Terrastalization or a hard swap from the Miraidon so it does not drop to an Icicle Crash. And there are a few options for Zamazenta depending on how much of a read Aaron wants to make. He is up a game, so we can afford to play a little bit riskier. Aaron is currently hovering over Zamazenta's moves, trying to decide what to do next. Alright, start of turn 1, we see a Terrastalization from Sejun's side on the Miraidon. So yeah, Sejun does not want his Miraidon to get one shot by Chien-Pao's Icicle Crash, which is a very reasonable decision. Chien-Pao, though, does not Icicle Crash. It goes for the Throat Chop into Farigiraf, doing just over half with the Electric Seed boosting its defenses. Miraidon goes for a Volt Switch into the Zamazenta, which is not Terra Dragon this time, and in electric terrain, that does a lot of damage, around 2/3 of Zamazenta's health bar. And now Sejun is deciding which Pokemon to swap in for the Miraidon that Volt switched out. Wow, so, Aaron just seems to really not want this Farigiraf to do Farigiraf things, like set Trick Room. He seems very concerned with a potential like Iron Hands Farigiraf sweep. And yeah, we see the Body Press come out from Zamazenta and knock out the Farigiraf after Sejun swaps in Chi-Yu for the Miraidon. Yeah, the attack into Farigiraf only made sense if there was a Zamazenta follow-up, because, yeah, Aaron really did not want Farigiraf to be able to do things that turn, and Trick Room was probably the scariest thing that Farigiraf could set up. Sejun, however, replaces the Farigiraf with Pachirisu, meaning there is no Iron Hands with scary low kick in the back. Not at all. And now there is the Scarf Chi-Yu with not locked into any move next to the redirecting Pachirisu in front of a 39 HP Zamazenta, very low health, and a full health Chien-Pao. And something to keep in mind here is Chien-Pao's Icicle Crash over Ice Spinner means that it can damage the Pachirisu without breaking its focus sash, which could be important if Aaron goes for a double up into the Pachirisu. But yeah, a defensive play to scout out, I think, makes a lot of sense here, because then you can, wide guard if the Chi-Yu goes for Heat Wave, play around the less threatening Miraidon if there's a hard swap, and simply just start attacking things if the if the Chi-Yu goes for a single target damaging move. So yes, Aaron goes for a Protect on the Chien-Pao, and also a Protect on the Zamazenta. Yeah, he sees very little downside to such a defensive play to gain information, and that information is quite valuable as it allows him to play more consistently. We see Overheat from the Chi-Yu into the Zamazenta, which bounces off Protect, and then Super Frang from the Pachirisu into Chien-Pao, which bounces off Protect. So Zamazenta's a little pinned here because the Chi-Yu moves first, and it can't really, even a Terrestrialization would not save it from an Overheat. And so Aaron has to decide whether he wants to sacrifice his Zamazenta or let something else in the back, the Rillaboom or the Entei, take the Overheat. But Chien-Pao here is feeling pretty good. It can go for damage, and as long as it doesn't miss Icicle Crash, it's guaranteed to get good damage off, and it won't even break its Focus Sash on the Rocky Helmet that Pachirisu has. Start of the turn, Pachirisu goes for Follow Me, and Chi-Yu goes for Overheat, but into the Chien-Pao this time, bringing it down to 1 HP thanks to the Focus Sash. We see Chi-Yu get its double special attack drop. Chien-Pao goes for Icicle Crash, which does connect with Pachirisu, and Zamazenta goes for a Body Press, which also connects with Pachirisu. That's a critical hit, but the critical hit does not matter, as the double up of these monstrous physical attackers is more than enough to wipe this squirrel off the face of the planet. And now Sejun is forced into his Miraidon, his Terra Fairy Miraidon. It does not set Electric Terrain because Electric Terrain is already up. And we now have a 4v2. Aaron has not lost a single Pokemon, though Aaron has 11 HP total on his 2 Pokemon out. It's the 1 HP Chien-Pao and the 10 HP Zamazenta after it took the Rocky Helmet chip when it hit the Pachirisu. Aaron is in a pretty dominant position here because between these two and Rillaboom and Entei, it looks like he'll be able to clean up pretty well. And the Chi-Yu is at -2 special attack, and Aaron knows it's locked into Overheat. And now the question is Aaron going to go for a double Protect the Scout once again? Or is he going to let a Bond go down? Or is he going to just swap and conserve, like maybe Chien-Pao for later? He has extra Pokemon, so he can afford to lose a piece now if it puts him into a better position. And no matter what, he'll know what Sejun's Pokemon are locked into in the end of the turn, because both Miraidon and Chi-Yu have choice items. At the start of the turn, Chien-Pao goes for Protect. The Overheat from Chi-Yu bounces off that Protect, and Miraidon goes for an Electro Drift into the Zamazenta, which does not protect, and the Zamazenta goes down. Aaron can now either swap in Rillaboom or Entei to fill the void left by Zamazenta, but either way, he has some extremely valuable information. He knows for sure that both of Sejun's Pokemon are locked into single target moves, and he decides to swap into Entei. Wow, Aaron locked in his move fast there, and it looks like he decided to double up on... Well, the turn is starting. Maybe I shouldn't spoil it. Aaron goes for the Terrestrialization on Entei, Terra Normal, meaning its extreme speed is going to do a lot of damage now, especially with Chien-Pao's Sword of Rune up. And Sword of Rune goes into the Chi-Yu. It cannot protect. It cannot Terra Ghost because Miraidon already Terra Ghosted. And it is a one-hit KO. Chi-Yu is just gone. An entire piece knocked out by a priority attack. Qianpao had also Sucker Punched the Chiyu in case it survived on a sliver of HP, so instead that Sucker Punch hits the Miraidon, doing negligible damage, like maybe about 1/8 of its max HP, into the Terra Fairy Miraidon, as Miraidon goes for an Electro Drift and knocks out the Entei in a single hit. But that is something Aaron is totally fine with, for even as the electric terrain expires, he sends out the Rillaboom, sets grassy terrain, and now he has the safest fake out for Qianpao's damage in the world, as he goes for a fake out into the Miraidon and a Throat Chop. Why Throat Chop? Well, even though Miraidon resists Fairy, Aaron is far enough ahead that he has extra turns to spare, and Throat Chop simply can't miss while Icicle Crash can. That fake out Throat Chop combo brings Miraidon down to about 40% of its max HP, and now Aaron goes for a Grassy Glide Grassy Glide Throat Chop double up, which finishes off the Miraidon as Aaron wins the set and moves on to a record of 2-0 at the 2024 World Championships. Wow. Those were two very good games, and I think both excellent examples of how to play from ahead. It's all too often that players will put themselves in these very dominant positions and then let those positions slip away. And Aaron did not do that. He found situations where he could give himself a slight edge, and he was able to convert those edges into victory. In game 1, the edge was huge just because that turn 1 went about as well as could possibly be hoped. And in game 2, he didn't get turn 1. Turn 1 didn't go quite as favorably, but it definitely went favorably. And he was able to take his early knockouts and convert that to just such an overwhelming resource advantage. What a masterclass in playing from ahead. All right, well, thank you for watching and listening. Make sure to check out our video releasing on YouTube next week on which Pokemon could maybe be the next Pachirisu. Oh, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'm having a lot of fun making videos like this, and the next match breakdown will probably come out in about 2 weeks. And also, please leave a comment if you disagree with anything I said or agree with it, or even if you found something cool. I love the feedback on my commentary or the whole breakdown format in general. And yeah, until next time, have a wonderful day.